Hello, wonderful people. I hope you guys are doing well. Before we start, please take a moment to like our video and subscribe to our channel if you want us to make more videos like this. Also, don't forget to let us know where you guys are listening from. Okay then, let's get started. For years, Gotham's streets have echoed with whispers about Batman's true purpose. The Dark Knight, whose shadow looms large over the city, isn't just a vigilante, he's a symbol of fear and justice. But could there be more lurking beneath his cape? Some argue that Batman's mission goes far beyond just fighting crime. What if the truth about his real agenda is far darker and more unsettling? What if, beneath his stern demeanor and relentless pursuit of criminals, Batman is hiding a much more calculated and personal quest, one aimed at unraveling the most terrifying and dangerous secrets of Gotham's elite? Gotham, as we all know, is a city built on secrets, the kind that lurk behind high-rise buildings, in the vaults of corrupt corporations, and under the floors of its richest families. These secrets are the threads that hold the city's criminal underworld and political power together. And Batman, the world's greatest detective, has always been quick to expose the underworld's darkest elements. But what if his mission isn't just about saving Gotham? What if it's about toppling the very pillars of power that support it? From the Wayne family's long history to the shady dealings of Gotham's top politicians and businessmen, the city's elite are intertwined in a web of secrecy. Could Batman be more than just the city's protector? Could he be the one sent to expose and bring down those who have long controlled Gotham's fate from the shadows? Now, think about it for a moment. What does Batman truly know about Gotham's elite? He's been part of their world since childhood, growing up as Bruce Wayne in the lap of luxury, only to watch his parents' lives and their secrets unravel in front of him. What did they know about Gotham's elite that got them killed? Did Thomas Wayne's philanthropy merely scratch the surface? Or was he deeply involved in a darker, more insidious plot within Gotham's power structures? Is it possible that Batman's crusade against crime is merely a cover for a deeper investigation into the criminal dealings of Gotham's high society? Could it be that his war on crime is strategically designed to take down those in power, starting with the ones closest to him, the elite that run the city's government, its business, and even its most sacred institutions? As we begin to peel back the layers, there's an undeniable connection between Bruce Wayne's past and Gotham's current power brokers. The mystery of his parents' murder has always been one of the central questions of his existence. But what if their deaths were not random? What if they were the result of a larger conspiracy involving Gotham's wealthiest families? What if Bruce's journey from the tragic orphan to the vigilante crime fighter was always meant to reveal these secrets, one criminal at a time? But this raises the most unsettling question of all. What would happen if Batman succeeded? What would become of Gotham if he were to expose the very foundations that have kept the city running, the dark dealings, the hidden alliances, and the manipulations of power? Could Batman's hidden agenda be to force Gotham into a new era, an era where its elite no longer pull the strings and the city is freed from the corruption that has poisoned it for generations? Or could Batman be walking a dangerous line, potentially becoming the very thing he is sworn to fight against? Does Gotham need Batman, or does Batman need Gotham's secrets to fulfill his ultimate mission? If we start analyzing Batman's every move, it becomes apparent that his actions are far from random. Every confrontation, every investigation, and every piece of intelligence he gathers seems meticulously calculated. The criminals he targets often appear to be minor players, yet their actions frequently lead him closer to the real puppeteers, the ones who pull the strings behind closed doors. Consider the city's most notorious crime families. While Gotham sees them as the main threat, Batman seems more interested in the inconsistencies in their connections, their financial trails, and their silent communications. Could it be that the underworld is just a distraction, a smokescreen hiding the deeper rot among Gotham's high society? Each seemingly petty crime might be a breadcrumb, leading Batman on a path toward a far more dangerous truth, a truth that could shake Gotham to its core. Even his rogues gallery raises questions. Why does he tolerate certain villains and focus intensely on others? The Joker, for instance, is chaotic, destructive, and seemingly meaningless in the grand scheme of Gotham politics. Yet his actions often reveal cracks in the city's elite, compromised politicians, blackmailing corporations, and secretive banking schemes. Perhaps Batman uses these chaotic forces as instruments of revelation. The Joker may be the mirror reflecting Gotham's hidden corruption, while Batman quietly observes and collects the evidence he needs to expose the elite. Think of the social events Bruce Wayne attends: charity galas, political fundraisers, and corporate meetings. To the outside world, he is the billionaire playboy, but to the keen observer, he is the silent investigator, probing for slips, inconsistencies, and veiled threats. Every smile, handshake, or toast is potentially a lead. Every whispered conversation in the grand halls of Gotham's towers might carry the seeds of a scandal that Batman has been waiting decades to uncover. Could it be that Bruce Wayne's public persona is just as essential to his hidden agenda as the cape and cowl? He's not just Gotham's shadow in the night. He is Gotham's shadow in daylight as well, silently watching, calculating, and waiting. And then there's the matter of timing. Batman never strikes blindly. His confrontations are precise, almost surgical. Major crimes are interrupted, but often only after he has gathered enough evidence to connect them to a larger pattern. Corruption in Gotham's elite rarely comes from a single act. It is the cumulative result of years of secrecy, bribery, and exploitation. Batman's approach suggests he isn't just reactive, he is proactive, orchestrating events, nudging players into revealing themselves. Each encounter with criminals could be seen as a deliberate move in a larger chess game, a game aimed at exposing the city's highest powers. And what about his allies? Commissioner Gordon, Lucius Fox, and even Alfred. Their roles seem supportive on the surface, but they may be integral to Batman's true mission. Perhaps each ally provides a different form of intelligence, surveillance, or access to critical networks. It's not just about fighting crime, it's about strategically dismantling the protective layers surrounding Gotham's elite. Even those who appear closest to Batman might be unknowingly complicit in his investigation, instruments in a plan that has been decades in the making. Consider the financial networks of Gotham's elite. While the public sees luxurious high-rises, expensive cars, and charitable foundations, Batman might be seeing the hidden ledgers, offshore accounts, and shell companies that quietly fund organized crime, political manipulation, and corporate exploitation. Each transaction could be a whisper of truth that the public is never meant to hear. The question is, has Batman been following these threads all along, not to stop crime in the streets, but to expose the very architects of Gotham's corruption? The seeming chaos in Gotham could, in fact, be a meticulously designed labyrinth, one that Batman navigates with a purpose invisible to everyone else. Think of Wayne Enterprises, for instance. A corporation admired by Gotham's citizens for its philanthropy and technological innovation, yet potentially hiding secrets in its dealings, acquisitions, and research programs. Batman may have infiltrated these structures long before he donned the cowl, understanding that true power doesn't live in the shadows of alleyways, but in the boardrooms and private offices of Gotham's elite. Could it be that Bruce Wayne's very existence as the heir to Wayne fortune is part of the plan, the perfect cover to observe, infiltrate, and eventually unmask the city's powerful? Every public appearance, every press release, every handshake could be a calculated move in a decades-long investigation. Even the villains he fights might not be random targets. Take the Penguin, ostensibly a crime boss, but perhaps more importantly, a broker of secret deals between the city's wealthiest families and the underworld. Or Two-Face, a man split between law and lawlessness, whose duality may represent the hidden duplicity of those who sit in Gotham's halls of power. Every encounter Batman has with these figures could be less about punishment and more about extracting information, testing allegiances, and uncovering the web of complicity binding Gotham's elite to the criminal world. And then there are Gotham's politicians. The mayor, city council members, and judges, all public servants, but also potential keepers of deadly secrets. Batman's surveillance isn't just aimed at catching thieves or murderers, it's aimed at understanding the inner workings of the city's power structure. Every scandal he prevents, every crime he interrupts, could be a way to flush out evidence, to corner those who think they are untouchable. His interventions may seem altruistic on the surface, but underneath they could be surgical strikes designed to expose hypocrisy, corruption, and greed. Even Gotham's social fabric is a stage for Batman's hidden agenda. Media outlets, influential socialites, and philanthropic societies might all be unwitting participants in his investigation. By observing the subtle interactions between these groups, by tracking the flow of information, influence, and resources, Batman could be piecing together a map of hidden power. A map that reveals the true rulers of Gotham, far above the petty criminals that draw headlines. But perhaps the most chilling thought of all is this: if Batman's goal is to unmask Gotham's elite, what will he do once he succeeds? Will he expose everything to the public, risking chaos and upheaval, or will he maintain control over the revelations, ensuring justice is served according to his own code? His hidden agenda may not merely be investigative, it may be about imposing a new order, an order where the elite can no longer hide, manipulate, or exploit. In this sense, Batman becomes not just a vigilante or detective, but a judge, jury, and silent executioner, reshaping Gotham according to the truths he uncovers. One cannot ignore the psychological mastery Batman exerts over both criminals and Gotham's elite. To the public, he is fear incarnate, a shadow that punishes those who break the law. But beneath the mask, his psychological approach is far more calculated. Fear is not used merely as a tool to deter crime. It is a precision instrument designed to provoke reaction, to reveal hidden truths, to expose the fissures in Gotham's social and power structures. Every carefully staged heist, every symbolic appearance in front of the press, every intercepted communication could be part of a larger experiment. A way to observe how the city's elite respond when threatened, when their secrets are at risk of exposure. By manipulating the environment of fear and uncertainty, Batman may be testing the strength of alliances, uncovering hidden betrayals, and tracking the flow of influence among the powerful. Consider the network of informants and allies that he maintains. Alfred, Lucius Fox, Commissioner Gordon, and even occasionally seemingly insignificant street contacts. Each serves a distinct purpose in his broader strategy. While Gotham believes these relationships are purely supportive, they might actually be conduits for information that cannot be gathered through surveillance or technology alone. Batman's allies are his eyes in the places where cameras cannot reach, where secrets are whispered behind closed doors, and where power is exercised with discretion. It is through these networks that he gathers the mosaic of evidence required to unmask the elite, evidence that could implicate the highest echelons of Gotham society. And then there is the question of timing. Batman strikes not only with precision but with patience. He allows events to unfold, letting the machinations of Gotham's elite reveal themselves naturally, like patterns emerging in shadows. He does not rush justice. He engineers opportunity by waiting for the right moment. A slip, a betrayal, a miscalculation. He ensures that the exposure of these secrets will be undeniable, irrefutable, and perhaps catastrophic for those involved. This patience suggests that Batman's ultimate goal is not simply to punish criminals, but to expose the rotten core of Gotham's power structure, to show the city what lies beneath the veneer of wealth, respectability, and influence. Even Gotham's infrastructure itself may be a component of Batman's hidden plan. Every technological system he monitors, every financial trail he traces, and every political maneuver he observes feeds into a larger schema. Surveillance cameras, forensic labs, encrypted databases, and even Wayne Enterprises' own technological innovations could all be quietly co-opted to support a mission that is invisible to the world. Batman's war on crime, therefore, is not random. It is a carefully orchestrated strategy to map, analyze, and ultimately expose the hidden mechanisms of control exercised by the city's elite. Perhaps the most intriguing element of this theory is the moral ambiguity it introduces. Batman is celebrated as a hero, yet if his true agenda is to unmask Gotham's elite, he is walking a perilous line between justice and vigilantism, between heroism and subversion. Does he operate outside the law because he believes the law itself is compromised? Or is he pursuing a personal vendetta against a city that failed him as a child, one that has allowed corruption to fester unchecked? The answer may be both, intertwining personal trauma with strategic calculation, creating a persona that is both terrifying and awe-inspiring. A symbol not only of justice, but of the relentless pursuit of truth, no matter how inconvenient, dangerous, or destabilizing it may be. Batman's true power may not lie in his combat skills, his gadgets, or even his detective abilities, but in his unparalleled understanding of human behavior, influence, and social leverage. To the untrained eye, he appears to hunt criminals indiscriminately, but in reality, every action is calculated to destabilize Gotham's elite subtly, forcing their secrets into the open. Consider the way he allows minor scandals to fester just long enough to observe who intervenes, who remains silent, and who betrays whom. Each observation adds a layer to his understanding, a piece to a complex puzzle that could ultimately reveal the entire hidden hierarchy of Gotham's power. The criminals in the streets are distractions, pawns in a larger game, while the true targets, the city's rich, powerful, and influential, remain largely unaware of the threat looming over them. Even his relationships with other vigilantes and seemingly random allies could serve a dual purpose. While Gotham sees alliances like those with Catwoman or occasional cooperation with Nightwing as tactical, they may also function as intelligence-gathering operations. Batman leverages these connections to gain insight into high society's hidden dealings, using his partners as both collaborators and conduits of information. Every interaction, every negotiation, every moral compromise is a test, a probe, a way to map the loyalties and weaknesses of those who think themselves untouchable. And Gotham itself is the perfect stage for Batman's agenda. The city's architecture, its infrastructure, and even its media are tools in his invisible investigation. Street-level chaos, political debates, and corporate power struggles are all part of a living laboratory revealing vulnerabilities in the elite's control mechanisms. Through observation, intervention, and sometimes subtle manipulation, Batman collects data that could expose the hypocrisy, corruption, and secret alliances that uphold Gotham's darkest undercurrents. He operates as a silent puppeteer, orchestrating events without ever being seen, leaving the city oblivious to the full scope of his intentions. Moreover, Batman's strategic patience suggests a vision far beyond immediate justice. He does not simply punish, he cultivates revelation. Crimes are allowed to evolve to the point where the elite inadvertently reveal themselves. Betrayals, cover-ups, and coercion are all carefully monitored, creating a tapestry of evidence. Every villainous act, every political maneuver, every corporate misstep is cataloged and analyzed, forming a blueprint of Gotham's hidden power dynamics. In this sense, Batman's war on crime is simultaneously a war for truth, an effort to unmask those who manipulate and control the city from the shadows. And yet, his agenda is fraught with moral ambiguity. Exposing the city's elite could destabilize Gotham entirely. Wealthy families, corporate magnates, and political leaders are intertwined with the city's economy, law enforcement, and infrastructure. If Batman's revelations were to become public, the consequences could be catastrophic, not merely for the guilty, but for the city itself. This raises a haunting question: is Batman a hero or a silent architect of chaos? His mission may be noble in intent, but the methods he employs, deception, manipulation, and psychological warfare, blur the line between justice and vigilantism. Ultimately, the Dark Knight may be less a defender of Gotham and more a surgeon delicately cutting through layers of corruption to expose a diseased system. His hidden agenda could be the city's reckoning, a deliberate unveiling of the elite's sins to force accountability where the law has failed. And while Gotham sleeps unaware, Batman's eyes watch ceaselessly, waiting, calculating, and striking only when the moment is most revealing, most decisive, and most illuminating. The question remains, when the truth finally emerges, who will survive and who will crumble beneath the weight of their own secrets? Batman's approach is not brute force alone. It is psychological, surgical, and profoundly patient. He doesn't merely react to crime. He anticipates it, predicting the behaviors of both the underworld and the powerful elite with uncanny accuracy. In his mind, every scandal, every illicit deal, every whispered conversation is a potential thread leading to the heart of Gotham's hidden corruption. He seems to understand that the city's greatest threats are not the masked criminals roaming the streets, but the silent manipulators in penthouses, boardrooms, and government offices, those who shape policies, control resources, and orchestrate events from the shadows. To truly dismantle the structures that enable crime, Batman must target these figures, exposing their hidden machinations without alerting them to the magnitude of his investigation. The way Batman selects his targets also suggests a hidden pattern. He does not strike randomly, and he rarely attacks mere pawns without a larger objective. The criminals he confronts often act as conduits of information, carrying fragments of a greater conspiracy, or inadvertently testing the loyalty and reactions of the city's elite. The Joker's chaos, for example, may be deliberately observed by Batman not only to prevent mass destruction, but to analyze the cracks in Gotham's upper echelons. When chaos erupts, those in power must respond, revealing allegiances, compromises, and secret dealings. Batman uses these moments as a mirror to expose the duplicity of the elite, watching closely as their facades crumble under the strain of orchestrated crises. Even Gotham's media becomes a tool in his invisible campaign. Public attention, headlines, and gossip are not merely distractions. They are instruments to provoke responses, to reveal hypocrisy, and to uncover concealed truths. Batman's presence forces elites into action, whether to conceal their guilt, to manipulate public perception, or to cover their tracks. In doing so, he gains invaluable insight into their vulnerabilities, mapping out networks of influence, corruption, and manipulation that would otherwise remain hidden. Every news leak, every scandal, every rushed press statement becomes a puzzle piece in his broader investigation. Technology also plays a critical role in this covert operation. Through surveillance, data analysis, forensic reconstruction, and encrypted communications, Batman gathers evidence invisible to ordinary citizens and law enforcement alike. The systems he monitors, from Gotham's financial networks to communication infrastructures, are the veins through which the city's secrets flow. By tapping into these currents, Batman is able to trace the movements of wealth, influence, and hidden agendas, creating a comprehensive map of the city's clandestine power dynamics. It is not enough for him to stop a crime. He must understand its context, its origin, and the invisible hands that facilitate it. And yet, his mission carries profound moral ambiguity. Exposing Gotham's elite could destabilize the city entirely. Families, corporations, and political institutions are entwined with the daily lives of millions, and revealing the full extent of their corruption risks chaos on a massive scale. Batman must weigh the cost of truth against the need for justice, balancing the lives of ordinary citizens against the imperative to dismantle systemic corruption. It is this tension between secrecy, revelation, and consequence that defines the true scope of his hidden agenda. He is not just Gotham's protector. He is its unseen architect, shaping events, orchestrating revelations, and compelling the city's powerful to reveal their darkest secrets, all while remaining hidden in the shadows. It is plausible that Batman's true strategy operates on multiple levels simultaneously, blending overt interventions with invisible manipulations. While the city perceives him as a reactive force against street-level crime, the reality might be far more intricate. He is not merely combating crime, he is curating it. By selectively allowing certain events to unfold, a minor heist here, a subtle act of corruption there, Batman may be testing the resilience, loyalty, and ethical flexibility of Gotham's power brokers. Each incident becomes a controlled experiment, revealing who will protect secrets at all costs, who will betray allies for personal gain, and who will crumble under scrutiny. In this way, Batman's vigilantism functions not merely as justice, but as an intelligence operation, a meticulous study of those who hide behind wealth, influence, and social standing. Consider how he might exploit Gotham's complex social web. Charitable foundations, corporate sponsorships, political campaigns, and media ownership are all instruments of subtle control. Batman could be using his dual identity as Bruce Wayne to interact with these structures, not as a philanthropist, but as an observer, tracing the hidden currents of influence that bind the city's elite to criminal enterprise. Every public appearance, every gala, every corporate negotiation is an opportunity to gather insight, to cross-reference alliances, and to detect inconsistencies in the behavior of those who believe themselves untouchable. He may even plant subtle provocations, rumors, anonymous tips, or discreet interventions to incite reactions that reveal deeper truths. His tactics likely extend into psychological manipulation, Batman understands that fear, secrecy, and paranoia are powerful tools for extracting information. By cultivating an aura of unpredictability, he forces the city's elite to act in ways that betray their hidden agendas. Alliances are tested, loyalties strained, and deception revealed. Those who believe they are manipulating Gotham's narrative may unwittingly reveal the true extent of their corruption under the pressure of his shadow. It is a silent war of nerves, in which Batman holds the advantage not through brute force, but through superior perception, patience, and the ability to anticipate moves several steps ahead. Even the criminal underworld itself is a component of his strategy. Figures like the Joker, the Riddler, and the Penguin are not merely obstacles, they are variables in a grand experiment. Their actions serve as tests, exposing the moral compromises of the powerful and creating situations where secrets cannot be concealed. Batman's interventions may appear chaotic, but they are likely calculated responses, designed to maximize exposure and minimize unnecessary collateral damage. Each encounter, whether in a dark alley or a corporate office, contributes to a comprehensive map of influence, deception, and control, a map that could ultimately reveal the full scope of Gotham's hidden hierarchy. And yet, in all this, Batman operates under a singular, silent code. He does not act for personal gain, nor does he seek fame or recognition. His agenda is clandestine, his motives hidden, even from those closest to him. The city knows him as a hero, but the elite may know him as a specter, a figure whose presence signals reckoning, whose observation can unravel carefully constructed facades, and whose interventions can shift the balance of power in ways no one can anticipate. It is this combination of patience, strategy, and moral ambiguity that allows Batman to navigate a labyrinthine city without ever revealing the true depth of his purpose. Batman's hidden agenda may extend beyond merely observing or punishing wrongdoing. It is possible that he operates as a strategic disruptor, meticulously weakening the networks of influence that protect Gotham's elite. He does not merely react to crime, he engineers opportunities to expose those who manipulate the system from behind the scenes. Consider the financial institutions, corporate empires, and political alliances that undergird Gotham's social hierarchy. Each of these structures, while outwardly legitimate, could be hiding illicit dealings, money laundering, bribery, blackmail, or secret collaborations with organized crime. Batman's interventions may appear spontaneous to the public, but in reality, they could be designed to trace these hidden connections, to reveal patterns that would otherwise remain invisible, and to pressure those involved into revealing themselves through their own reactions. Moreover, Batman's mastery of information is central to this theory. He collects data not just from the streets, but from boardrooms, social events, digital communications, and public records. Through meticulous analysis, he may be constructing a detailed map of Gotham's elite, their interactions, weaknesses, fears, and secrets. This allows him to anticipate moves before they occur, positioning himself in ways that compel the powerful to reveal their true nature. What Gotham sees as vigilante justice may in fact be an intricate game of chess, where every piece is carefully observed, every move anticipated, and every misstep exploited. Psychological manipulation is another tool in Batman's arsenal. By cultivating an aura of omnipresence and unpredictability, he forces the city's powerful to operate under stress, testing their decisions and observing how they respond under pressure. A single leak, an anonymous warning, or a strategically placed clue could destabilize a corrupt alliance, causing those in power to reveal the depth of their wrongdoing. In this way, Batman's war on crime transcends physical confrontation. It becomes a war of intellect, perception, and moral exposure. Even Gotham's seemingly chaotic criminal elements serve a dual purpose. Villains such as the Riddler, the Penguin, and the Joker are not merely obstacles to justice. They are instruments through which Batman can probe the vulnerabilities of the elite. Their schemes create situations where corruption is forced into the open, and those who manipulate power from the shadows cannot hide their complicity. Every encounter, every conflict, every calculated chaos is a controlled experiment designed to extract information, reveal alliances, and expose hidden agendas. Yet, the ethical dimension of this mission is profoundly complex. By exposing the elite, Batman risks destabilizing Gotham itself. Families, corporations, and political institutions are intertwined with the city's functioning, and revealing the full extent of their corruption could have consequences far beyond justice. This tension between the pursuit of truth and the preservation of order defines the delicate moral balance Batman must maintain. It suggests that his true role is not merely as a protector of the innocent, but as a silent architect of societal reckoning, a figure who manipulates events from the shadows, revealing hidden truths while ensuring that the city does not collapse under the weight of those revelations. Ultimately, this theory paints Batman not just as a hero, but as a strategic operative with a singular objective: to unmask Gotham's darkest secrets, expose the hidden corruption of its elite, and compel accountability in a system where traditional law enforcement has failed. His actions, often misunderstood or sensationalized by the public, are part of a grander, meticulously orchestrated plan, one that seeks to reveal the city's hidden realities and force those who wield power to face the consequences of their own hidden sins. Through patience, intelligence, and relentless observation, Batman may be quietly reshaping Gotham's moral and social landscape, turning fear and secrecy into tools of revelation, justice, and ultimately, transformation. Batman's hidden agenda might also involve manipulating the very fabric of Gotham's power hierarchy, targeting not just individuals, but entire institutions. The city's elite, corporate magnates, politicians, socialites, and legal authorities operate within a web of influence that shields them from scrutiny. By carefully observing these structures, Batman could identify the nodes of power most vulnerable to exposure. His interventions may appear isolated or reactive, but each is likely calibrated to destabilize protective networks, forcing cracks in the armor of secrecy to widen until truth seeps out. Subtle disruptions, orchestrated leaks, and carefully timed public appearances could serve to pressure these powerful actors into revealing their hidden dealings, whether through their own mistakes or through the consequences of their actions under duress. Moreover, Batman may exploit Gotham's complex relationship between legality and morality. The city's justice system often fails to punish the guilty, either due to corruption, bureaucratic inefficiency, or social influence. Batman operates outside these constraints, allowing him to pursue objectives that law enforcement cannot. Yet, he does not act impulsively. Every intervention is likely analyzed for its potential to illuminate hidden truths while minimizing unnecessary collateral damage. In effect, he uses the failure of Gotham's institutions as a lens, focusing the consequences of corruption in ways that reveal the elite's true character without collapsing the city entirely. Even his public persona as Bruce Wayne may serve a dual purpose. The billionaire playboy, philanthropist, and corporate leader could act as both a cover and a tool for intelligence gathering. High society interactions, Charity events and boardroom negotiations are opportunities to observe, probe, and manipulate, gathering information that might be invisible to law enforcement or the public. By embedding himself in these environments, Batman gains unparalleled access to the behaviors, decisions, and ethical compromises of those who control the city. This dual existence allows him to operate as a shadow investigator, collecting evidence, understanding alliances, and tracing hidden influence with precision and subtlety. Psychological strategy is central to his agenda. Batman's presence alone induces fear, paranoia, and uncertainty among Gotham's powerful. By cultivating a reputation of omnipresence and inscrutability, he creates conditions in which even minor actions can have amplified consequences. A poorly chosen alliance, a hidden secret exposed by a seemingly unrelated event, or a rushed reaction to perceived threat can unravel carefully constructed facades. Through observation and indirect influence, he pressures the elite into revealing the depth of their corruption, essentially turning their own fears and compulsions into instruments of exposure. Furthermore, Gotham's criminal underworld is intrinsically linked to the city's elite, and Batman may exploit this connection to advance his agenda. Criminal acts, when allowed to unfold in controlled contexts, can illuminate the involvement of powerful figures, creating evidence chains that would be impossible to uncover through conventional investigation. Figures such as the Joker or the Riddler are not merely antagonists, they act as catalysts for revelation. By observing how these agents of chaos interact with the elite, Batman can trace influence, manipulate outcomes, and orchestrate exposures that reveal systemic corruption. Ethically, Batman's mission is precarious. Unmasking the elite carries enormous risk, societal destabilization, unintended consequences for innocence, and moral ambiguity in leveraging secrecy and fear. Yet, he appears to accept this tension, balancing the city's stability against the imperative to expose wrongdoing. In doing so, he becomes not merely a hero in the conventional sense, but a calculated strategist, operating in the gray spaces between morality, legality, and justice. His agenda may be the ultimate form of accountability, a long game that seeks not only to punish, but to reveal, to restructure the moral equilibrium of Gotham, and to compel a confrontation with truth that the city's institutions themselves cannot enforce. Through relentless observation, calculated intervention, and the patient orchestration of events, Batman may be quietly conducting a campaign that transcends crime fighting. It is a mission of revelation, one in which fear, secrecy, and manipulation are wielded with surgical precision to unmask the hidden sins of Gotham's elite. What the public sees as vigilantism could, in fact, be a far deeper exercise in social engineering, a plan designed to expose corruption, provoke accountability, and ultimately force Gotham's most powerful to face the consequences of their hidden deeds. The Dark Knight may be less of a guardian of the city and more of its hidden conscience, operating in the shadows to illuminate the truths that no one else dares to confront. Batman's hidden agenda may operate as a multi-layered campaign, where timing, influence, and psychological pressure converge to reveal the true nature of Gotham's elite. Every public scandal, corporate misstep, or political maneuver becomes a puzzle piece in his expansive investigation. He likely tracks patterns over months, years, and even decades, patiently observing interactions, testing reactions, and identifying weaknesses. The billionaire socialites, corporate executives, and government officials whom Gotham idolizes may unknowingly participate in his study, revealing their moral and ethical boundaries under the calculated stress of his interventions. Even seemingly trivial incidents, a misallocated donation, a poorly managed public relations crisis, or a hasty business decision, could be intentional provocations or carefully monitored signals in Batman's broader strategy. The scope of his surveillance extends beyond physical observation. Technology, for instance, may serve as an invisible extension of his mind. Gotham's financial flows, communication networks, and digital infrastructures could be quietly analyzed, providing a map of influence and corruption that remains unseen by law enforcement or the public. The movement of capital, the timing of political endorsements, and the private alliances formed in boardrooms or social clubs may all contribute to his understanding of the city's secret hierarchy. Batman's interventions are precise, aimed at creating situations where hidden truths naturally emerge, using events rather than force to expose those who manipulate the system. Even the city's criminal underworld functions as a tool in his covert operation. By allowing controlled chaos to unfold, Batman can test loyalties, observe responses, and uncover the hidden complicity of powerful actors. Villains such as the Penguin, Two-Face, or the Riddler may appear as mere nuisances, but under his strategy their actions become diagnostic tests, revealing the depth of corruption, compromise, and moral decay within Gotham's elite. Their schemes, when carefully monitored, generate a cascade of evidence, linking the city's most respected figures to acts they believe are shielded from public view. Batman's dual identity as Bruce Wayne further enhances his reach. The public philanthropist, businessman, and socialite is a facade that allows him to interact with Gotham's powerful without raising suspicion. Every gala, board meeting, and charitable initiative serves as an opportunity to observe, probe, and gather intelligence. By blending into these environments, he collects insights that the law cannot, understanding the motivations, fears, and compromises of those who wield power. He may even strategically plant subtle cues or rumors, prompting reactions that reveal alliances or hidden agendas. The psychological dimension of his agenda is profound. Fear, unpredictability, and mystery become instruments for extracting truth. Gotham's elite, under the constant threat of exposure, are forced into actions that betray their secrets. Minor errors, overreactions, or attempts at cover-ups may inadvertently reveal the connections and malfeasance that have long remained hidden. Batman's interventions, while invisible, are structured to maximize this effect. His presence alone is a constant pressure, compelling transparency through the stress it generates. Ethically, this strategy walks a razor's edge. Exposing the elite could destabilize the city or harm innocents. Yet Batman's careful orchestration suggests a meticulous balancing act. He operates with a moral calculus, weighing the need for truth against the consequences of revelation. In this light, he is not just a vigilante, but a strategic engineer of justice, leveraging secrecy, observation, and subtle manipulation to impose accountability where conventional systems have failed. Ultimately, Batman's hidden agenda reframes his role in Gotham. He is not merely a guardian against crime, he is an unseen strategist, a shadow investigator, and a moral arbiter. Through patient observation, calculated pressure, and the orchestration of events, he exposes the city's darkest secrets, compelling its elite to confront the consequences of their actions. In the quiet, unseen operations that define his strategy, he may be shaping Gotham not just for the present, but for generations, ensuring that the truth, no matter how hidden or uncomfortable, finds its way into the light. In Batman's strategy, no elite figure in Gotham is untouchable. Each person of power, whether a corrupt corporate tycoon, a duplicitous politician, or a media mogul with ties to organized crime, becomes a potential target, subject to Batman's meticulous scrutiny and calculated influence. Consider a high-profile business magnate, like a Wayne Enterprises competitor, who seems to operate within the boundaries of the law, but whose financial empire is built on a network of shell companies, offshore accounts, and illegal partnerships with criminal syndicates. Batman, through his dual role as Bruce Wayne, would have access to the corporate world and its players. He could carefully observe their activities, pulling at the loose threads of their operations, allowing small, controlled crises to unfold that expose their vulnerabilities. Perhaps a minor scandal is introduced, an embarrassing business deal, an unanticipated audit, or a strategic leak. These seemingly random events might be orchestrated by Batman himself, causing cracks to appear in the business magnate's facade, revealing the extent of their illicit activities. Each response from the elite figure, panic, cover-up, attempts to silence whistleblowers, would be a clear indication of their guilt, and Batman could use this information to expose the intricate network they've worked so hard to hide. Next, consider the political figures who hold sway over Gotham's legal and administrative systems. They often operate under the guise of public service, but in reality, many are likely involved in deep corruption, manipulating laws to suit their own interests, or the interests of Gotham's criminal underworld. Batman, watching from the shadows, might begin to sow the seeds of exposure by manipulating events that force these politicians to reveal their true allegiances. A scandal involving campaign donations or an illicit backroom deal could be the trigger, but it would be Batman's behind-the-scenes influence that ensures the right people are in the right place to expose the truth. His interactions with figures like Commissioner Gordon in the media would play an instrumental role here, feeding subtle information to the right channels, ensuring the story gains traction, and pushing Gotham's power structures toward a breaking point. By the time the truth about these politicians comes to light, the public would be left questioning the very foundations of their supposed legitimacy, with Batman, as always, remaining hidden in the shadows. Another strategic avenue for Batman would involve Gotham's legal system itself, an institution that should uphold justice, but is often tainted by influence, bribery, and corruption. Judges, defense attorneys, and law enforcement officers may appear incorruptible on the surface, but beneath the surface they could be compromised by criminal organizations, political pressure, or personal gain. Batman's ability to infiltrate and manipulate Gotham's surveillance systems, from cameras to wiretaps, could allow him to intercept key communications and uncover the depths of this corruption. Imagine a scenario in which a high-profile criminal trial is being rigged, with the defendant's fate already decided by backroom deals. Batman, observing the case closely, might introduce a series of strategic moves that expose the tampering, perhaps by revealing hidden connections between the defendant's legal team and powerful criminal figures, or by creating a public crisis that forces the corrupt judge into the open. This would not be an impulsive act of justice, but a calculated disruption designed to reveal the flawed system that supports Gotham's criminal elite. Additionally, Gotham's media moguls present a fascinating challenge for Batman's hidden agenda. The media in Gotham wields tremendous power, shaping public opinion, controlling narratives, and protecting the city's most powerful figures from scrutiny. However, Batman may see the media not as an obstacle but as a tool to be leveraged. By manipulating key figures in the media, from reporters to editors, producers to executives, Batman could introduce a controlled form of chaos that exposes the inner workings of Gotham's elite. A seemingly random leak, an unsubstantiated rumor, or a carefully placed story could cause journalists to question the moral integrity of those in power. Over time, Batman might feed subtle hints to trusted reporters or plant evidence that leads to the unmasking of media moguls who secretly manipulate information to protect their own interests. The elite, accustomed to controlling the flow of information, would suddenly find themselves at the mercy of the truth, exposed not by force, but by the quiet unraveling of their own narrative. Even Gotham's police force, often seen as a bastion of law and order, may have deep-rooted corruption. Batman's ability to leverage Commissioner Gordon's role within the department allows him to gather intelligence on officers who may be compromised, slowly uncovering networks of corruption within the ranks. Batman could, for instance, orchestrate small but strategically placed criminal activities, a series of robberies, a gang war, designed to test the loyalty of Gotham's finest. Those who fall short, either by turning a blind eye or participating in criminal acts themselves, would be exposed. Batman might work through his connections, using Gordon as a channel, to subtly push these officers toward their inevitable downfall, revealing the links between crime and law enforcement that have allowed Gotham's most powerful figures to operate with impunity. The culmination of Batman's hidden agenda is not a single dramatic moment, but rather a slow, methodical unraveling of the threads that bind Gotham's elite. For years, he has carefully constructed his web of influence, carefully orchestrating events, manipulating the media, exposing the corruption of the city's most powerful players, and testing the loyalty of each individual who holds sway in the shadows of Gotham's society. As the final pieces of the puzzle fall into place, the entire city begins to feel the weight of the truths that have been buried for so long. The first major shift occurs when a seemingly innocuous scandal erupts within Gotham's most prominent corporate sector. What appears to be a minor business controversy quickly snowballs into something much larger. Through a series of leaks, public revelations, and strategic exposures, a prominent executive, someone at the very top of Gotham's financial world, is found to have ties to a vast network of criminal syndicates. What had once been dismissed as baseless rumors is now irrefutable proof, the tipping point that forces Gotham's citizens to start questioning the integrity of the city's most revered institutions. The executive's downfall is swift, but it is only the beginning. Other figures, also ensnared by Batman's strategy, are now forced to scramble to cover their tracks, desperate to avoid exposure. As each revelation unfolds, Gotham's power players are pushed further into the open. Batman's tactics have left no room for plausible deniability. The media, which had long been in the pocket of Gotham's elite, is now forced to turn on its masters. Journalists, initially reluctant, begin to piece together the stories that Batman has orchestrated through his subtle manipulations. Every previously protected figure is now under scrutiny. Political leaders are exposed for their connections to organized crime. Socialites are unmasked as key players in a corrupt oligarchy, and even some of Gotham's most beloved public figures are shown to have been complicit in the city's underworld dealings. Batman's subtle pressure has turned the media into a powerful force for truth, causing the very foundation of Gotham's elite to begin cracking under the weight of their secrets. The legal system, too, feels the strain of these revelations. Judges, lawyers, and law enforcement officers who once believed themselves untouchable now find their corruption exposed. Batman's slow-burning investigation has gathered irrefutable evidence that even Gotham's law enforcement has been complicit in protecting the city's elite. The once pristine image of Gotham's judicial system is now shattered, and with it, the illusion of justice, as key members of the police force are unmasked as corrupt. Batman forces Gotham to confront the reality that its system of law has been undermined by the very people tasked with enforcing it. As each layer of corruption is peeled back, the public becomes more and more agitated. Gotham, once content to look the other way, now finds itself confronting a moral crisis. The city's once untouchable elite, their secrets no longer safe, begin to fracture. Some attempt to flee, others try to buy their way out, and a few desperate individuals seek to strike back against Batman, unaware that they are playing into his hand. Every attempt to suppress the truth only accelerates the inevitable collapse of Gotham's power structure. Batman, however, remains a silent force, watching from the shadows as Gotham's elite implode. He has orchestrated a delicate balance of revelation, one that maximizes the impact of each scandal while minimizing the risk of total collapse. His patience has paid off. The city is beginning to see the full extent of its corruption, and the people are no longer content to live in ignorance. Gotham, for all its wealth and power, is now being forced to reckon with the truth. Yet, even as the elite fall, there is a lingering question about Batman's true intentions. Was he merely seeking justice, or was there something more personal at play? Perhaps his crusade was not just about exposing Gotham's criminals, but about erasing the systems of power that have shaped the city for decades. Gotham's elite may have been his true target all along, the very institutions that allowed crime and corruption to thrive. Batman's hidden agenda, revealed in full, is not just about punishing the guilty, but about reshaping the city's power dynamics to ensure that the past never repeats itself. The final moments of this revelation come not with a bang, but with a whimper. Batman, always the silent architect of Gotham's transformation, allows the city to absorb the full weight of its newfound truths. He does not relish in the public chaos or in the downfall of the powerful. Instead, he withdraws into the shadows, knowing that his work is complete. Gotham has been forced to face its darkest truths, and in doing so, it is on the cusp of being reborn. As Gotham's elite crumble under the weight of the revelations Batman has orchestrated, the city stands at the precipice of a new era. The powerful, once untouchable, are exposed, their secrets laid bare for all to see. The public, once apathetic to the undercurrents of corruption, is now awakened, their trust shattered, their faith in the system irrevocably damaged. Yet, in the aftermath of this turmoil, the question arises: what kind of Gotham will emerge from the ashes of its old guard? The first signs of change come in the form of societal unrest. The city, once governed by a small circle of influential families and corporate overlords, finds itself in a state of disarray. The fall of the elite has left a power vacuum, and the people are left to navigate a chaotic landscape, unsure of whom to trust. While some see this as a long-awaited reckoning, others fear the loss of order, stability, and the familiar structures that govern their lives. Batman, ever the orchestrator of change, understands the fine line between justice and anarchy. He has revealed the truth, but now, he must ensure that the city does not descend into chaos. In the wake of these revelations, Gotham's political landscape shifts dramatically. New figures begin to rise from the rubble of the old system. Some are reformists, hopeful idealists, who see this moment as an opportunity to rebuild Gotham from the ground up. These individuals, though well-meaning, face an uphill battle. The trust of the public is fractured, and the old power structures are not so easily dismantled. Corporate magnates, media moguls, and politicians, though exposed, still possess vast resources and influence. They will not go down without a fight. The remnants of the old guard begin to regroup, consolidating their power in more clandestine ways. The fight for control of Gotham enters a new phase, one that is far more complex than the previous era. Batman's influence, however, does not fade. As Gotham's new leaders attempt to navigate the delicate process of rebuilding, Batman watches from the shadows, his role now one of silent oversight. He has shown Gotham the truth, but the responsibility of governance is no longer his to bear. He knows that true change will not come easily. It will require more than just the exposure of corruption. It will require a complete shift in the city's very fabric, a redefinition of power, justice, and accountability. But is it possible for Gotham to change, or is it doomed to repeat its mistakes? The city's history is steeped in cycles of corruption, betrayal, and the rise and fall of power. The idea of true reform, free from the taint of influence and greed, seems distant, perhaps even unattainable. Batman's strategy, though successful in exposing the elite, has not fundamentally altered the nature of power itself. The city remains a battleground between those who seek to control it, those who wish to protect it, and those who long to see it burn to the ground. Gotham's dark history may be too deeply ingrained for any one individual, no matter how powerful or elusive, to break. In the months that follow, Batman's presence in Gotham becomes more elusive. He is no longer the city's active warrior against crime, but rather a symbol, a reminder of what happens when the truth is allowed to surface. Gotham's new leaders begin to adopt policies of transparency, but the scars left by the revelations are deep. The question of whether Gotham will be able to heal, or if the very forces that perpetuated its corruption will resurface in a new guise, remains uncertain. At the same time, Batman must confront the personal toll of his crusade. He has succeeded in revealing the city's darkest secrets, but at what cost? The guilt and trauma of his parents' death, the years spent in solitude, and the moral dilemmas of his hidden agenda weigh heavily on him. Has he truly brought about justice, or has he merely exposed Gotham to a new, more dangerous form of power? The truth that he has uncovered may never fully heal the wounds of the city, and as time passes, Batman realizes that his role is not to bring about the city's redemption, but to ensure that the darkness never completely overwhelms it. The final moment of Batman's hidden agenda is not a grand confrontation or the toppling of another villainous empire, but rather a quiet realization: Gotham will always be Gotham. It is a city built on contradictions, on power and vulnerability, on corruption and hope. Batman's role, like the city itself, is forever in flux. He has been both the catalyst for change and the silent observer, shaping the city's destiny without ever fully controlling it. The question remains: will Gotham rise from its ashes, reshaped and reborn, or will it simply enter another dark chapter in its unending cycle? Batman, as ever, remains in the shadows, watching, waiting, and knowing that in Gotham, nothing is ever truly finished. The elite may have fallen, but new power structures are already beginning to form, and Batman will always be there, watching from the darkness, ensuring that the balance is maintained, even as the city shifts once again. In the wake of the revelations, Gotham's future is neither as triumphant as some might hope, nor as disastrous as others feared. Instead, it enters a phase of uneasy rebuilding where the city's collective psyche is fractured and the very foundations of power are in flux. The elite, though exposed, are not gone. They remain influential figures, scattered like chess pieces across the board, some attempting to regain their control through covert means, while others are forced into the shadows, working from behind the scenes. Their downfall, while significant, does not immediately usher in an era of righteousness. The old world of corruption and backdoor deals may be in disarray, but it is far from extinct. As Gotham's new leaders struggle to emerge, the city's undercurrent of crime does not simply evaporate. Organized crime, once dictated by the whims of the elite, begins to form new alliances, creating a fragmented underworld where power shifts away from the monopolistic families that once ruled. Without the stability of the old guard, these criminals grow unpredictable and harder to control. Gotham's streets, once ruled by singular figures like the Penguin or Black Mask, now teem with smaller, more volatile factions. Batman's exposure of the elite has not eradicated crime, it has scattered it, creating a chaotic power struggle that threatens to spill over into open conflict. The law enforcement system, while somewhat reformed in the wake of Batman's revelations, remains under intense pressure. Corruption, once ingrained in the very structure of Gotham's police force, is difficult to purge completely. Commissioner Gordon, though one of the few figures to emerge with his integrity intact, finds himself battling not just the remnants of corruption within his ranks, but also a growing public distrust in the system. The new leaders of Gotham must face the daunting task of re-establishing faith in the institutions meant to protect its citizens. The very people who once relied on the police to uphold justice now question if they can ever truly trust the system again. At the heart of this struggle is the city's evolving moral compass. The exposure of Gotham's elite has forced the public to confront uncomfortable truths about the city's foundations. Some see the revelations as an opportunity to rebuild a just society, while others mourn the loss of the old order, even if it was corrupt. The sense of loss, mixed with hope for a better future, creates a volatile atmosphere. Political movements, both progressive and conservative, rise and fall, each attempting to redefine the city's identity in the wake of Batman's intervention. But the deep scars of betrayal and corruption are not easily healed. The public is fractured, its faith in authority shattered, and the power vacuum left by the fall of the elite is filled with new contenders, each with their own agenda. As the dust settles, the question of Batman's role in this new Gotham looms large. He has exposed the darkness at the heart of the city's elite, but now with the elite fragmented and the city in turmoil, what role does he play in this new world? Is he the silent guardian, ensuring that the balance between good and evil remains intact? Or has his intervention created a system too unstable to survive on its own? The streets are quieter without the open dominance of the old criminal syndicates, but a new kind of danger brews beneath the surface. Batman's influence, though undeniable, is not the panacea Gotham needs to heal. His methods, though effective in exposing the truth, have left Gotham in a precarious position. It is now up to the people of Gotham, the survivors of this upheaval, to decide if they will rebuild the city on a foundation of transparency and justice, or allow the cycle of corruption to repeat, masked in new forms. For Batman, the city's future is not his to shape. He has played his part. He has exposed the corrupt and dismantled the old power structures, but Gotham's rebirth, if it is to occur, will depend on those who choose to take the reins of power. Batman's role then shifts once again. He becomes a specter, watching from the shadows, ensuring that the forces of corruption do not regain their foothold. He remains the silent observer, his presence felt but not always seen. As Gotham continues its journey of reinvention, the city will never be the same, but whether it is better or worse is yet to be determined. In the final moments of this narrative, we find Batman in the darkness, as he has always been. He is not a hero in the traditional sense, Nor is he a villain. He is an instrument of truth, a force that shapes events in ways the public can never fully comprehend. Gotham may stand on the precipice of a new future, but whether that future is one of healing or further decay depends on the choices of those who live in it. Batman has done what he set out to do: reveal the truth, expose the powerful, and disrupt the old order. The rest is up to Gotham. As Gotham limps forward, the shadow of its past lingers, a constant reminder that the city's battles are not over. The elite may have been exposed, their corruption revealed, but the struggle for power is far from finished. What Batman has left in his wake is not a city that is free from corruption, but one that is now fully aware of its own flaws. It is a city that has glimpsed the darkness behind its pristine facades, and now, in the light of truth, it must decide what kind of future it wants to build. The public's response to the exposure of Gotham's elite is mixed. While some embrace the opportunity for a fresh start, others feel betrayed by the revelations. The public's faith in institutions has been shattered, and it will take more than a few reforms to restore trust. The powerful figures who once controlled the city, now in disarray, are not defeated. They are merely fractured. Many have retreated into the shadows, regrouping, strategizing, waiting for the right moment to reclaim their power. The public's reaction is both one of fear and hope. They see that the old order has fallen, but they are also fearful of what will replace it. The question now is whether the city can rebuild itself into something stronger, or whether the vacuum of power will lead to an even more dangerous era of chaos. Gotham's power structures begin to shift in unpredictable ways. The corporate giants who once reigned supreme have been exposed, but new players, smaller, more agile organizations, some with ties to the criminal underworld, others with their own brand of ambition, begin to rise. These new power brokers operate in the shadows, weaving webs of influence just as their predecessors did. But now, with the added layer of secrecy, Batman has removed the old elite, but in doing so, he has created space for a new, less stable order to take root. At the same time, Gotham's law enforcement, though reformed in part, finds itself grappling with the aftershocks of the old system. Police officers, who were once complicit in protecting the elite, are now tasked with cleaning up the mess left behind. Yet, many of the old loyalties remain, and the temptation to return to old habits is ever present. Commissioner Gordon, steadfast in his commitment to justice, struggles to steer a fractured police department, one that is divided by corruption and a lack of public trust. The reformation of Gotham's law enforcement will not come easily, and it is a fight that will stretch on for years, with every victory met by new challenges. Meanwhile, Batman, ever the observer, retreats into the shadows. His role is no longer one of active intervention, but of silent surveillance. Gotham has been shaken, its foundations exposed, but now it must face the task of rebuilding. Batman has played his part in bringing the truth to light, but the city's future is in the hands of the people. Can Gotham rise from the ashes of its corruption, or will it fall once more into the grasp of those who thrive in the shadows? One of the most significant implications of Batman's actions is the rise of a new generation. The younger citizens of Gotham, those who have lived through the chaos, are witnessing the city in its most fragile state. They are the ones who will determine whether Gotham's transformation is possible or if it is doomed to repeat its cycles of corruption and betrayal. Batman, though absent from the forefront of this new world, has left behind a legacy of resilience and vigilance. The next generation must decide whether they will uphold the ideals of justice and transparency, or whether they will be seduced by the same powers that once ruled the city. In the quieter moments, Batman may wonder if he has done enough. Has he really set Gotham on a path to healing? Or has he merely delayed the inevitable? His quest to expose the city's elite may have been successful, but it has not eradicated the roots of corruption. Gotham is a city built on the foundations of power, and as long as that power exists, the cycle of greed, betrayal, and secrecy will continue. The question is not whether Batman can stop it, but whether Gotham itself can ever truly change. The city may have been rocked by revelations, but it is far from reborn. The fight for Gotham's soul is just beginning, and while Batman has removed the old structures of corruption, the new ones are already taking shape. Whether they will be better or worse remains to be seen. Gotham, like the Dark Knight himself, is a city forever caught between the light and the shadows. There will always be new villains to face, new corrupt figures to expose, and new battles to fight. Yet, Batman remains in the shadows, not as a hero but as a guardian. His mission is not to solve Gotham's problems, but to ensure that they never grow too large to contain. His presence, though unseen, is a constant reminder that the city will always be in flux, forever teetering between justice and chaos, but never truly free of the shadows that haunt it. Commissioner Gordon. In the wake of the revelations, Commissioner James Gordon finds himself at the crossroads of change. His unwavering commitment to justice and the law had always been the backbone of Gotham's law enforcement. But the destruction of the old power structures has left him facing new, unforeseen challenges. The corruption that once silently ran through the city's institutions is now an open wound, and Gordon must contend with the consequences of Batman's actions. His department, though reformed, is fractured. Many of his officers, once loyal to the corrupt system, must now be retrained, re-educated, or removed. The line between right and wrong has blurred, and the moral clarity that Gordon once relied on is now clouded by the fallout of Gotham's revelations. Though Gordon is still the pillar of Gotham's police force, the city's new political landscape means that his influence is no longer as absolute. The newly empowered citizens and reformist politicians are watching his every move, eager to ensure that Gotham's future is shaped by transparency and justice, not the influence of the old guard. Gordon's once straightforward role as the defender of the law is now more complicated, and he faces pressure from all sides, from within the department, from Gotham's political elite, and even from the public, who demand accountability for the sins of the past. As the symbol of law in Gotham, Gordon becomes both a leader and a symbol of the city's fragile hope for a better future. But he knows better than most that Gotham is a city built on cycles of corruption. The reforms he has fought so hard for could easily be undone by new forces seeking to exploit the system, and he is faced with a choice: to continue his fight for justice, even in a fractured city, or to retreat, knowing that the city may always be on the edge of slipping back into darkness. The new power brokers. As the old elite fall, Gotham's new power brokers begin to take shape. These figures are not as visibly corrupt as the families and corporations of the past, but they are no less dangerous. With the power vacuum left by the exposed elites, a new breed of Gotham's rich and influential rises to prominence. These new players are more discreet, operating behind the scenes and utilizing the chaos that followed Batman's revelations to build their own influence. They understand the lessons of the past, that absolute power cannot be trusted, and instead work in the shadows, pulling strings through influence, manipulation, and even the threat of violence. Some of Gotham's criminal masterminds, once only operating in the underground, have now managed to carve out legitimate business empires, blending their illicit dealings with public-facing ventures. Figures like the Penguin, who was once seen as a mere crime lord, now operate in more sophisticated ways, navigating the blurred lines between crime and business. Their wealth, though now more publicly accepted, still bears the fingerprints of the city's criminal roots. They've learned how to play the system, understanding that Batman's exposure of the elite has created an environment ripe for their own rise to power. The media moguls, once complicit in maintaining the old order, are no longer in the position of absolute control, but they remain an influential force in Gotham. As the public demands greater transparency, these media figures are forced to reckon with their complicity in enabling Gotham's corrupted system. But not all will choose to abandon the old ways. Some will attempt to rebuild their empires through new alliances, while others will pivot to more subtle, insidious forms of control. These power brokers, far less overt than the old elite but just as dangerous, will be the architects of Gotham's future. Selina Kyle, Catwoman. Selina Kyle, once an unpredictable rogue and Batman's occasional ally, faces her own transformation in the aftermath of Gotham's upheaval. Having lived in the margins of society, neither fully a part of the elite nor of the criminal underworld, Selina has always navigated Gotham's shadows, manipulating both sides for her own benefit. But now, with Gotham's old guard exposed and the city in disarray, Selina finds herself grappling with a new moral dilemma. Without the power of Gotham's corrupt elite to serve as her backdrop, she must decide where her loyalties lie. For Selina, the revelations about Gotham's elite are both an opportunity and a threat. The fall of the city's old powers gives her the chance to reshape her own role in the city, to carve out a new identity beyond just a cat burglar or lover of chaos. But she is no stranger to the darkness of Gotham, and she understands that a city built on secrets and greed is unlikely to change overnight. Despite her complex relationship with Batman, Selina might find herself drawn into the fractured political landscape either by her own ambition or by a desire to protect the city she calls home. She could become an unlikely ally in the city's rebuilding process, using her cunning and street smarts to ensure that the new Gotham doesn't fall into the same traps as the old one. The Joker. The Joker, as always, remains Gotham's ultimate enigma. His reaction to the downfall of Gotham's elite is not one of despair or fear, but of delight. To the Joker, the exposure of Gotham's most powerful is the greatest form of chaos. The old order has crumbled, and now Gotham is ripe for his brand of madness. For a time, Batman's revelations had exposed the corruption of the elite, but for the Joker, this is merely a new game. He will take advantage of the cracks in Gotham's foundation, manipulating events and pushing the boundaries of sanity until he forces the city into an even greater crisis. What Batman has exposed, the Joker seeks to deepen. He thrives in the chaos of Gotham's broken system, feeding off the uncertainty and fear left in the wake of the revelations. If Batman's role was to uncover the truth, the Joker's role is to distort it, twisting it into something far more dangerous. With Gotham's elite fractured, the Joker sees an opportunity to reshape the city in his own image, a place where chaos reigns supreme and everyone is forced to confront their own darkness. The Joker may be the wild card in this new Gotham, where Batman seeks justice. The Joker seeks destruction, and as Gotham rebuilds, he will be lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. The future of Gotham. The future of Gotham is uncertain. It will never be a city free from corruption and darkness. That is the truth. Batman has learned over the years, but perhaps, in the wake of his intervention, there is a chance for something better, something more transparent, even if it is just a fleeting hope. Gotham's power structures have been shaken, but they have not been eradicated. New players will rise, new corruptions will form, and the battle between light and darkness will continue. Batman's legacy is one of truth, but the question remains whether Gotham can bear it. The cycle of power, corruption, and chaos is deeply ingrained in the city's DNA. Can it truly break free, or is it doomed to repeat itself? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. Batman will always be there, watching from the shadows, ensuring that the battle is never fully over. The rebuilding of Gotham, a city in flux. In the wake of Batman's revelations, Gotham faces the daunting challenge of rebuilding itself, not just physically, but spiritually and politically. The exposure of its elite and the gradual disintegration of its most powerful institutions have left the city in a state of flux. But this is not a clean slate. It is a city scarred by years of corruption and trauma, where old loyalties and systems cannot simply be erased. Gotham's recovery will be a delicate balance of progress and resistance, a struggle between the forces of change and the deep-rooted entities that seek to maintain their grip on power. The first major hurdle in Gotham's recovery is its fractured economy. The old financial systems, dominated by corrupt corporations and illegal activities, have been severely disrupted. While some parts of the city begin to see an influx of reform-minded businesses and civic-minded entrepreneurs, the old powers are not easily displaced. Wealthy figures who once thrived in the shadows may have been exposed, but their vast financial empires still exist. The city's economy, though shaken, remains reliant on the same corporate structures that perpetuated its corruption. Those with the resources to rebuild are not necessarily the ones interested in changing the system, but rather in adapting it to new circumstances. The question remains whether Gotham can cultivate a new ethical business environment, or if it will revert to the old ways, disguised in a new form. Meanwhile, the social fabric of Gotham is also in a state of upheaval. The public, shaken by the truths revealed, is divided. Some are emboldened by the exposure of the elite and demand more transparency, more accountability. Others are disillusioned, believing that the entire system is inherently flawed and that no amount of reform can truly change the city. Gotham's citizens, many of whom have been victimized by both crime and systemic injustice, are left to pick up the pieces. Community leaders, social activists, and reformers rise to take on the monumental task of healing the city's wounds, but they are met with resistance at every turn. Old institutions, entrenched in the city's infrastructure, fight to retain their power, while new movements seek to reimagine Gotham's future. In this landscape, Batman's influence lingers. He is no longer the active agent of change, but a quiet symbol of what Gotham could be, or perhaps should be. His revelations have forever changed the way the city views its power structures. But Gotham must decide if it will embrace the possibility of transformation or fall back into the comfort of its old, familiar dysfunctions. Batman's actions, while groundbreaking, have not solved the deeper issues within Gotham. They have merely revealed them. The road to true healing will require the city's citizens to confront their own complicity and rebuild their institutions with a foundation rooted in honesty, justice, and transparency. The New Order. Rise of the Reformists. Amid the chaos, a new group of reformist leaders begins to take shape. These individuals, many of whom were once outsiders or even victims of Gotham's broken systems, now have a platform to reshape the city. They are driven by the desire to build a Gotham free of corruption, where power is decentralized and institutions work for the people, not the elite. However, these reformists face enormous opposition, not only from the remnants of the old power structures, but also from the general public. many of whom are skeptical of any leader's ability to change the city's deeply ingrained culture of corruption. These reformists are diverse, coming from various sectors of society: community organizers, former public defenders, and even corporate leaders who have broken away from the corrupt practices of their predecessors. They understand that change will require more than just exposing the elite. It will require a massive overhaul of Gotham's political and legal systems. Their ultimate goal is to create a more transparent government with accountability at every level. They advocate for policies that prioritize education, public health, and crime prevention, shifting the focus from punishment to rehabilitation. But they are well aware of the uphill battle they face, both in winning the public's trust and in dismantling the systems of power that have long held Gotham captive. One of the central challenges for these reformists is the lack of trust in the system. The public is divided, unsure whether to embrace the reformers or to retreat into the familiar darkness that Gotham has always known. The media, now under new management following the downfall of its old leaders, plays a pivotal role in shaping public opinion. Gotham's media landscape has shifted from being an instrument of control for the elite to a forum where debates about the future of the city can be held. But even the media is fractured, with some outlets continuing to push narratives that favor the old power structures, while others call for radical change. The reformists must navigate this media battlefield, hoping to gain the public's confidence without falling into the trap of sensationalism or populism. The silent legacy of Batman. Although Batman is no longer an active figure in Gotham's politics, his legacy looms large over the city. As Gotham's citizens work to rebuild, they are forced to reckon with the complex moral questions that Batman's actions raised. Was he a hero who exposed the truth? Or was he a vigilante who disrupted a system that, while corrupt, was still functional in some ways? Some view him as the catalyst for the city's transformation, the one who pulled back the veil on Gotham's darkest secrets and gave the public the opportunity to remake their city. Others, however, see him as a destabilizing force, a man who pushed Gotham to the brink without providing any clear answers on how to fix it. For some, the question of Batman's role will never be fully answered. His influence will continue to ripple through the city for years to come, as the citizens of Gotham try to rebuild, haunted by the truths he uncovered. His silent, watchful presence becomes a symbol, not of hope, but of the price of uncovering the truth. Gotham may never be truly free from the shadows that Batman cast, but in the end, that might be the point. He did not come to save Gotham. He came to force it to save itself. The future of Gotham. A city reborn, or a city doomed. As Gotham moves forward, it must confront the question of whether it can truly break free from the cycles of corruption and power that have defined it for so long. The city has been exposed, its secrets laid bare for all to see. The elite have fallen, but their absence has created a new power struggle. Gotham's future remains uncertain. Will it be a city reborn, transformed by the exposure of its past sins, or will it return to the same darkness, simply hidden beneath new faces and new systems of control? The new leaders of Gotham, from reformists to criminals to opportunists, will shape the future of the city. Whether they choose to rebuild Gotham into something stronger, more transparent and just, or whether they fall prey to the same forces of corruption, remains to be seen. Batman's legacy will guide them, but it will not dictate their actions. Gotham's rebirth is in their hands now, and the path they choose will determine whether the city can truly change or whether it is doomed to repeat the same mistakes of the past. Gotham, now in the throes of a profound transformation, faces its most critical juncture yet. The fall of the old elite. A spectacle witnessed by the entire city has left a gaping hole in its power structures. What had once been the carefully constructed foundation of wealth, influence, and corruption is now in ruins. Yet, the question remains, what will replace it? With the elite exposed and their influence in tatters, Gotham is not ushering in a new era of hope and renewal, but is instead stumbling into a chaotic vacuum where the forces that once controlled the city from the shadows are now scrambling to reassert themselves. As the city attempts to rebuild, the void left by Gotham's powerful families is quickly filled by new, often less overt, figures. These emerging players understand the lessons of the past: subtlety, secrecy, and flexibility. They don't seek to dominate Gotham in the way their predecessors did, but rather to manipulate it from the shadows. Corporate moguls, once hidden behind layers of legal protections and financial dealings, are now more covert in their methods, using their wealth to influence public policy, control media narratives, and quietly sponsor criminal enterprises. They no longer hold as much direct power over the streets, but their influence over the minds of Gotham's citizens is even more insidious. The system has shifted, but the corrupt nature of the game remains unchanged. As Gotham adapts to the new reality, its political landscape becomes a battleground. The old alliances that once governed the city have broken down, and a new set of reformist politicians rises, advocating for greater transparency, accountability, and justice. However, their efforts are constantly undermined by the remnants of the old guard, who have learned to operate in a more decentralized fashion. With the public's trust in government shattered, these reformers struggle to maintain any real influence. The media, which had once been complicit in maintaining the status quo, now plays a pivotal role in determining the city's future. Some outlets become beacons of truth, exposing the cracks in the new system, while others, manipulated by the new elite, spin a narrative that Gotham is better off without the old power structures, that the city is healing, and that the chaos of the past was just a fleeting moment. But even as these new figures rise, Gotham's criminal underworld refuses to remain dormant. The chaos unleashed by Batman's revelations creates an environment ripe for criminal exploitation. Figures like the Penguin and Black Mask, once defeated and disgraced, now find new opportunities in the shifting landscape. They operate more discreetly now, using their influence and networks to manipulate the corridors of power from within. Gotham streets, once cleared of their old syndicates, now teem with new players, eager to carve out their piece of the city's fractured empire. Gotham has always been a city of contradictions, but now, more than ever, it stands at the crossroads of its own identity. For those who live in Gotham's underbelly, life becomes a series of ever-shifting alliances. Gangs, syndicates, and organized crime groups, once fragmented, now seek to consolidate their power in a new era where traditional crime is no longer sustainable. Instead, they embrace technology, cybercrime, and political manipulation, adapting to the times while remaining true to the ruthless pursuit of power. They recognize that Gotham's vulnerability has created an opportunity to create something far more dangerous. A city where crime is not just confined to the streets, but embedded in the very fabric of its institutions. For the people of Gotham, the change is palpable, yet their disillusionment grows as the promise of reform seems elusive. Those who were once the silent victims of Gotham's underworld now look to the emerging powers with both fear and hope. They yearn for a city where justice is not just a concept, but a reality, where the wealthy are held accountable, and where corruption is no longer hidden in the halls of power. But as they watch the new leaders bicker, the criminals regroup, and the old systems adapt, they begin to wonder if Gotham will ever truly be free of the darkness that has always defined it. Amid this swirling uncertainty, one figure stands apart from the rest: Batman. No longer the active force he once was, Batman now watches from the shadows, his role having shifted from that of a crusader to a silent observer. Gotham, for all its changes, still carries the weight of his revelations. His presence is felt in every corner of the city, not in his actions but in the very essence of what he left behind. Gotham is a city that has been exposed, and the question that looms over its future is whether the city can now confront the truth and rebuild from the ground up, or whether it will simply return to its old ways, masked in a new guise. In his absence, Batman's influence continues to shape Gotham's fate, but whether that influence will lead the city to redemption or to further ruin remains uncertain. Gotham, ever caught in the balance between light and shadow, must decide if it will continue to perpetuate its own cycles of corruption, or if it will rise from the ashes of its past mistakes. The path forward is fraught with danger, as old and new forces continue to vie for control, each with their own vision for what Gotham should become. And so, Batman remains in the shadows, not as a savior, but as a symbol of both hope and despair. He has exposed the darkness within Gotham's heart, but whether the city can truly change, or whether it will succumb to its darkest impulses once more, is a question that only time will answer. Gotham is a city that has always existed in the balance between order and chaos, and as it stands now, on the brink of both, its future is as uncertain as ever. The struggle for its soul is not over, and in the end, it may be up to Gotham's citizens, not Batman, to decide whether they will break the cycle or fall prey to it once more. As Gotham enters this uncertain new era, its future teeters on the brink of transformation, yet still deeply rooted in its own history. The city has been shaken to its core by the exposure of its elite, and while the old guard has fallen, the vacuum created by their absence has not been filled with clarity and order. Instead, it has left Gotham's streets to the mercy of a fractured society, a city desperately searching for its identity. The reformist politicians who once rallied behind the idea of rebuilding Gotham with transparency and justice now find themselves battling not only the remnants of the old system, but the very nature of Gotham itself. Gotham, it seems, is a city born from chaos, where corruption is as much a part of its fabric as its concrete streets and towering skyscrapers. The more these reformists push for progress, the more resistance they encounter. The city's deeply ingrained culture of secrecy, manipulation, and power struggles fights back against every attempt at true reform. The media, a double-edged sword in this new Gotham, plays a pivotal role in this power struggle. On one side, it is an outlet for those pushing for justice, the voices of the public, demanding accountability. On the other, it remains a battleground, with new media moguls seeking to maintain control over narratives, choosing to spin the truth in ways that suit their interests. Gotham's citizens are bombarded with conflicting messages, some decrying the new system as a farce, others hailing it as a much-needed breath of fresh air. The power of information, once held by a few, is now more fragmented, and with it, the control over the city's future. Batman's legacy continues to linger in the background. Though he is no longer the force he once was, his influence cannot be easily erased. Gotham may have witnessed the fall of the elite, but the city is still reeling from the truth that was exposed. The citizens are left to pick up the pieces, but what are they left with? The truth about their city's corruption is out, but the darkness within Gotham's soul is not easily vanquished. Can they rise from the ashes of this revelation, or will the forces that have always ruled Gotham merely evolve into new forms, more sophisticated and insidious than before? In the shadows of Gotham, figures like Selina Kyle, Catwoman, though once part of the chaotic underworld, now find themselves navigating a new world where alliances are no longer defined by crime but by influence and leverage. Selina has always walked the line between villain and anti-hero, but with the old power structures crumbling, she now sees an opportunity to redefine herself. She could play a crucial role in the rebuilding of Gotham, but only if she can resist being drawn into the power struggles that have always defined the city's elite. Whether she chooses to become a force for change or a silent observer, as she has so often been in the past, will determine whether she becomes part of Gotham's transformation or an unwitting contributor to its downfall. Gotham's criminal element, however, has not been eradicated. It has merely adapted. The absence of the old elite has left the streets ripe for exploitation, and new, smaller crime syndicates rise to fill the void. These groups are more nimble, more hidden, and more dangerous than the ones before. They operate from the shadows, their reach extending into the very institutions that Gotham now seeks to rebuild. These criminal factions, much like Gotham's elite, understand that real power lies not in visible domination but in quiet manipulation, in playing the long game. They thrive in the chaos, using the instability to their advantage, building their empire while the city's leaders struggle to maintain control. Despite these new challenges, some of Gotham's citizens see this moment as a new beginning. Community leaders, activists, and ordinary people, who have long been silenced by the weight of Gotham's corruption, begin to take action. They push for reforms that focus on education, healthcare, and crime prevention, advocating for a city that provides opportunities for those who have always been ignored. However, they too face obstacles. The entrenched powers are not easily dethroned, and Gotham's political scene remains a battleground between those who want to change the system and those who simply want to adapt it to their new needs. Gotham's journey forward will be one of trials and tribulations, but it will also be one of hope and determination. The city, shaped by its past, now faces the daunting task of deciding who it will become. Can it be rebuilt from the ground up, or will it fall back into the same patterns of secrecy and power that have defined it for so long? The people of Gotham, from its reformed leaders to its criminals, to those who have nothing to lose, must now decide what kind of city they want to live in. The legacy of Batman will remain a haunting question that Gotham will continue to grapple with. Was he a force of good? A protector of the city? Or was he simply another element of the chaos? A figure who revealed the truth but left the city to deal with the consequences. Gotham will always be caught between light and darkness, and Batman, as its silent guardian, will remain the city's shadow, watching as it stumbles through its next chapter. As Gotham's future unfolds, the challenges it faces grow more intricate, and the city's struggle to redefine itself becomes a battle not just for power, but for the very soul of the city. The elite may have fallen, but the old systems of control have not been eradicated. Instead, they have mutated, taken new forms, and buried themselves deeper within Gotham's complex infrastructure. Gotham is now a city in flux, not yet healed, but not entirely broken. Its people, its leaders, and its criminals must navigate this uncertain new reality. The reformists who once saw the fall of the elite as an opportunity to usher in a new era of transparency and justice now find themselves fighting a battle on multiple fronts. Gotham, after all, is a city that has always been defined by its contradictions. Even as citizens demand accountability, they also crave the stability that the old system, for all its flaws, provided. The streets that were once ruled by crime syndicates now show signs of fragmentation, with new criminal factions emerging, not as organized crime families, but as smaller, more agile groups willing to manipulate the city's instability to their advantage. These groups, many of whom once served the elite, now seek to carve out their own slice of power, using technology, covert operations, and political connections as their new weapons. The most dangerous of these new groups are those that have learned the lessons of the past. They know that overt power is not the way forward. Instead, they operate quietly, pulling strings behind closed doors. They influence elections, make strategic financial investments, and even fund social movements, all while remaining out of the public eye. Gotham's criminal underworld is no longer a singular entity. It is a mosaic of smaller, interconnected pieces, each working to outmaneuver the other. The old players, like Penguin and Black Mask, are no longer the sole players in town. These newer figures understand that the game is no longer about controlling the streets. It's about controlling the narrative. As the criminal factions vie for power, the people of Gotham are left to pick up the pieces. For the first time, ordinary citizens begin to feel that they have a real stake in the city's future. They are no longer passive bystanders watching the battles of the powerful, the protests, the push for reform, the demands for justice. These are not just fleeting moments of public outrage. They are the seeds of a potential shift in Gotham's very fabric. But whether these movements can be sustained, whether they can grow beyond their idealistic roots, remains uncertain. Gotham's new political leaders are both empowered and handicapped by the revelations. They have the support of the people, but they also face constant pressure from the remnants of the old guard, those who still hold power in the shadows. They must navigate a fine line, advocating for change while trying to hold together the fragile coalition that has emerged in the wake of the elite's fall. The political landscape, which was once dominated by a handful of families and corporations, is now a battleground where every move, every alliance, and every policy is scrutinized. No one trusts the system completely, and the struggle for power has never been so intense. While reform is being pursued, there's also an undeniable truth that many cannot escape. Gotham is a city built on its darkness. It thrives on chaos, on uncertainty, and on the idea that no one can ever truly escape the shadow of the past. As the old elite crumbles, new elites, not always as visible but perhaps even more dangerous, rise to fill the gap. They are hidden in the labyrinth of Gotham's bureaucracy, media, and tech companies, quietly amassing power and wealth, waiting for the right moment to reassert control. These figures are the ones who will shape Gotham's future, but whether they choose to continue the city's legacy of corruption or build something better will determine the course of Gotham's next chapter. Batman, the figure who once sought to protect Gotham, remains a haunting presence. Though he no longer actively fights for the city, his legacy endures. As Gotham's fragile future unfolds, the people are forced to reckon with the complex question of what Batman truly represents. Is he a symbol of justice, a force that brought Gotham's truths to the surface, or is he simply a reflection of Gotham's endless cycle of darkness, someone who exposed the flaws but left the city to pick up the pieces without offering a lasting solution? For some, Batman's absence leaves a void. The city no longer has the silent guardian who once held the line between order and chaos. For others, it is a sign of Gotham's growth that the city no longer needs a single figure to maintain its balance. Instead, it must rely on its people, its institutions, and its leaders to determine what Gotham will become. In the end, Gotham remains a city divided. There are those who believe it can change, that it can rise above its dark past and emerge into a new era of justice and equity. But there are others who know, deep down, that Gotham's nature will never fully change. It will always be a city caught between the light and the dark, where those who seek to do good are constantly at odds with those who want to exploit the system for their own gain. Gotham is a city of contradictions, and perhaps that is its greatest truth. As Gotham stands at the threshold of its future, Batman's role in its transformation is clear. He will always be the city's shadow, watching from the darkness, ensuring that the fight for Gotham's soul never truly ends. The city may change, but its essence will always remain the same. The darkness that Batman exposed is a part of Gotham's identity, and whether the city rises or falls, it will always need the specter of the Dark Knight to remind it of its true nature. Gotham's transformation, though incomplete, has set the stage for a future defined not by the remnants of its corrupted elite, but by the efforts of those who dare to rewrite its narrative. But as much as Gotham struggles to redefine itself, it is a city forever caught in the grip of its own history. A place where the forces of darkness and light are in constant conflict. The aftermath of Batman's revelations has given Gotham a glimmer of hope, yet it remains a city in flux, its soul uncertain, teetering between change and stagnation. The reformers, having taken their first steps into leadership, now face the monumental task of proving that the new Gotham can indeed rise from the ashes of its past. The streets, once dominated by fear and corruption, begin to feel different, but the shadows of the old powers are never far behind. Every law passed, every initiative launched, is met with fierce opposition, not just from the remnants of Gotham's elite, but from those within the very system that fought so hard to keep the status quo intact. The rebuilding process is painful and slow, and for many the idea of Gotham being truly free of corruption seems like an impossible dream. Yet, there are moments of hope. The youth of Gotham, raised in the shadow of its broken systems, begin to take up the mantle of change. They are not bound by the same traditions, not shackled by the same cynicism that defined previous generations. These young activists, visionaries, and leaders push for a Gotham where justice is not a commodity but a right, where the system works for everyone, not just the powerful few. They carry the lessons of the past with them, but they refuse to let those lessons become a crutch. They fight for a city that values transparency over secrecy, equity over privilege, and community over division. But Gotham's healing is not linear. Every step forward is met with resistance, and the darkness that once enveloped the city continues to pull at its edges. The emerging criminal factions, though smaller and more fragmented, are growing stronger. They have adapted, and with the fall of the old elite, they now find themselves unencumbered by the systems of control that once kept them at bay. No longer reliant on the old power structures, they operate from the shadows, pulling the strings in new ways, infiltrating the very systems that the reformers are trying to rebuild. They are the ghosts of Gotham's past, lurking behind the faces of new political leaders, in the dark corners of the tech industry, and within the media. The media, once the mouthpiece of the elite, now finds itself in a state of transformation. New outlets emerge, and old ones are restructured to fit a changing landscape. Some push for true accountability, challenging the status quo with investigative reporting, while others, corrupted by the new criminal elite, continue to push narratives designed to protect the interests of the powerful. In this fragmented media world, the public must sift through a cacophony of conflicting messages, unsure of who or what to trust. In a city like Gotham, where the line between truth and manipulation has always been thin, the fight for control over public perception becomes as important as the fight for political power. For Batman, his role has evolved once more. He is no longer the crusader in the shadows, actively fighting the battles of the day. Instead, he has become a symbol, his legacy, a haunting reminder of the complex relationship between justice, power, and morality. Gotham, now aware of the deep corruption that lies at the heart of its power structures, can never forget the price of uncovering the truth. Batman's revelations forced the city to confront its own darkness, but in doing so, they also left it vulnerable. Gotham now faces an existential question. Can the city truly rebuild itself, or will it forever remain trapped in the cycles of power, corruption, and violence that have always defined it? The new leaders of Gotham, both the reformists and the opportunists, are left to grapple with this question. The reformers, hopeful yet wary, push forward with their vision of a better Gotham, aware of the weight of the responsibility on their shoulders. The opportunists, more covert than ever, bide their time, waiting for a moment to reclaim what they lost, knowing that Gotham's love for its darkness will never truly fade. In the end, the battle for Gotham's soul is not about one individual or one group of people. It is a collective struggle, fought by those who believe in the possibility of change and those who profit from its decay. In this fragile new world, Gotham's future is anything but certain. The struggle for power continues, but it is no longer a battle between the old elite and the criminals. It is a fight between those who seek to rebuild the city on the foundation of truth and justice, and those who wish to see it fall back into the grip of corruption. And in the shadows, Batman watches, his presence still felt, his legacy unresolved. The city he fought for may never be free of its darkness, but perhaps, just perhaps, it can find a way to live with it, to face the shadows, not with fear, but with the hope that even in the darkest of times, Gotham can still find a way to rise. As Gotham pushes forward, its transformation becomes less about grand gestures and more about the slow, unyielding work of rebuilding. The city, once a sprawling web of corruption, power, and criminality, is left to piece itself back together. But this time, the cracks are deeper and the scars more evident. Gotham has been exposed for all its flaws, and while some have risen to challenge the old ways, others, those who still thrive in the shadows, begin to operate with a far more calculated approach. The reformers, though well-intentioned, struggle to bring about the change they promised. The public, once energized by the fall of the elite, grows impatient as the promises of transparency and justice seem to stretch out endlessly into the future. New systems are slowly put in place, but Gotham's history is not easily erased. The public's trust in the system has been eroded for generations, and the old institutions, though fractured, still have their foothold. The struggle between old and new is not a battle fought on the streets, but in boardrooms, media outlets, and political halls, spaces where decisions are made quietly, but with immense consequences. As the lines between law and order blur once again, a new breed of crime begins to emerge. No longer is Gotham's underworld dominated by the obvious figures, the Penguin, Black Mask, or Two-Face. Instead, smaller, more agile criminal organizations rise from the cracks. These factions are more secretive, leveraging technology, public perception, and political maneuvering to stay one step ahead of the law. They are no longer confined to the alleyways. Their reach extends into the upper echelons of Gotham's economy and politics. These new criminal leaders are not individuals but networks, decentralized and harder to target. They operate in the gaps left by Batman's revelations, exploiting the system's weaknesses and turning Gotham's instability into opportunity. However, these criminals are not the only ones shaping Gotham's future. The youth of the city, awakened by the truth that Batman revealed, begin to rise in unexpected ways. They are not content with the status quo, not willing to accept the city's corrupted past as the way things are. These young activists and social reformers, many of them born from the very communities Gotham's elite ignored, now have the chance to push for change. They may not yet have the power or the resources of Gotham's old rulers, but they have something even more powerful, the voice of the people. The city's working-class neighborhoods, often overlooked and silenced, begin to rise in protest. They demand better schools, safer streets, and a government that answers to them, not the power brokers. Yet, this fight is not without its contradictions. Gotham, for all its push for reform, is still a city built on cycles of power and failure. The people who rise to the top, the ones who claim to be working for change, often find themselves drawn into the same systems of corruption they once sought to dismantle. In a city where money and power flow freely, where influence can be bought and sold with ease, it is easy to become what one once fought against. The battle for Gotham's soul is not just fought in the streets, but in the hearts and minds of those who believe they can change the system. Batman, the man who started this revolution by exposing Gotham's darkest secrets, continues to watch from the shadows. His role, once active and decisive, is now silent and distant. Gotham has changed, but not in the way he imagined. The truth, it seems, was only the beginning. He revealed the city's deepest flaws, but now the people must grapple with the consequences. Can they rise above the darkness that has defined Gotham for so long, or will they fall prey to the same forces that have always controlled the city? For Batman, the answers are not as important as the journey. He has never seen himself as Gotham's savior, and perhaps that is his greatest truth. Gotham is its own entity, shaped by the actions and choices of those who live within it. Batman's role was always to reveal, to expose, and to ensure that the darkness could never truly hide again. His absence from Gotham's ongoing battle for change speaks volumes. The city is no longer a place where one man can carry the weight of justice alone. It is a place where everyone must take part in the struggle, whether they are ready or not. And so, Gotham continues its journey, still scarred, still divided, but with the possibility of change on the horizon. Whether that change is real or just another illusion remains to be seen. The battle is not over, and Gotham's story is far from finished. Batman's shadow will always loom over the city, a reminder that the struggle for Gotham's soul is ongoing. Whether it will rise from its darkness or sink deeper into it will depend on those who choose to fight for its future. Gotham, as it stands now, is at a crossroads, not only between its past and its future, but also between the forces of resistance and those of compliance. The veil that once shrouded the city's elite has been torn away, and in its place is a landscape that is both terrifying and full of potential. The truth has been revealed, but the consequences of that revelation are far from settled. The struggle for control in Gotham is no longer a battle fought in the shadows of the powerful alone. It is a citywide fight, with every citizen, whether a reformist, a criminal, or an ordinary person trying to survive, having a stake in the outcome. Gotham's fabric has been exposed, and now everyone must come to terms with it. The ruling elite may have been exposed, but their influence is not entirely gone. They remain entrenched in the city's fabric, pulling strings in the background, finding new avenues for power. Their downfall has made room for new players, more nimble and elusive than ever. Gotham's new power brokers know that control is not achieved through overt force, but through influence, manipulation, and access. They operate where Gotham's law enforcement cannot reach, in the quiet rooms of board meetings, in the media's twisted narratives, and in the alliances of the criminal underground. For Gotham's citizens, the city's very identity is in flux. The public's reaction to the exposure of corruption and the following chaos is mixed. Some celebrate the revelations, seeing them as a necessary step toward cleansing the city, while others fear the uncertainty that follows. Gotham has long been a city of contradictions, where those who seek justice are often faced with overwhelming odds. Now, with the old order in disarray, Gotham's citizens are left to ask themselves what comes next. Can they truly rebuild, or are they doomed to repeat the same mistakes? Amidst this uncertainty, Batman's absence is felt more profoundly. He remains a figure of legend, his actions both inspiring and haunting. Gotham is no longer defined by the presence of a solitary figure fighting against its darkness. It is a city where every individual must now face the reality of its situation. The citizens, the reformers, the criminals, they are all part of the same struggle, a collective push and pull that will ultimately determine the direction the city takes. Batman, once the symbol of resistance, has faded into the background, leaving Gotham to confront its own destiny. However, Batman's shadow continues to loom large over the city, even as the streets are reshaped by new forces. He may have stepped back from the forefront, but his presence is still embedded in Gotham's psyche. His legacy is not just a symbol of truth revealed, but also of the complex moral questions that Gotham now faces. His actions have forced the city to confront its darkness, but now it is up to the people of Gotham to decide whether they will rise above it or allow it to consume them once again. The future of Gotham is now in the hands of those who have the power to shape it, not just the politicians or the criminals, but the ordinary citizens who live within its borders. They are the ones who will determine whether Gotham can rebuild, whether it can create a new narrative for itself, or whether it will fall back into the same cycle of corruption and destruction. Gotham has been given a second chance, but whether it can seize it is uncertain. The city's future is as fractured as its past, and the battle for its soul is not over.